just one too many times. Right? No. What? So I switched to the CBC. 17,000 children dead by weapons of war since the beginning of the Syrian war. My children will never be able to buy a home in Lower Mainland. The cases of sexual misconduct and abuse is staggering in politics, sports, entertainment, and the church. Public leaders lying under oath against all wisdom. The President of the United States unilaterally recognizes Jerusalem as the capital of Israel. The fires rage in Southern California with no relief from the weather. The block programming on CBC is lovely, but it's peppered with news. It's always been like that, you know, Quirks and Quarks, and North by Northwest, and ID, and The Current. Good programming, but peppered by the news. It's been like that for as long as I've listened to CBC radio, but you know, I don't think I've ever felt so bombarded with depressing news. Maybe I'm more sensitive to it. Maybe because I'm not listening to it all the time, I hear it more acutely, where before I was deaf to it. Maybe. I don't know how news junkies do it. People who listen to the news all the time, as if the news is all the news there is. Now, I recognize that I have the power over my own experience. I have power over how I react to these stories. I can choose this. I get that. But this overwhelming news has me asking the question of the ages. How long will this continue? Depressing news or Madonna and Santa Baby? How long will we be bombarded with something other than the peace that surpasses understanding and live in God's realm of peace and justice? Do you ever get to the place when you feel like you no longer have agency in your own wellness? That you no longer have the power to shape and create your experience? And when does the community reach out and say, we're at our wits' end? Do we ever get to the place of saying, okay, God, we give. We could really use a miracle here. I think our text this morning points to exactly this kind of lament. The ancient Israelites have returned from exile. They've been saved, only to get home and find that nothing is as they had imagined. The promises they understood through all that time in exile have not been kept. And they project their own anger onto God. Restore us again, O God, you of our salvation, and put away your indignation toward us. Will you be angry with us forever? Will you prolong your anger for all generations? God isn't angry. That's how they perceived it. God isn't angry at all. God isn't separate. God isn't making fun of us. God isn't testing us. God isn't creating a situation of conditional love, believe this way and you're in heaven. Not at all. How can we know this to be true? We only need to look at the story of Israel. Why does Israel still celebrate the Passover? We were slaves in Egypt, they say, and God freed us. When they were hungry in the desert, God sent manna, food for the day. Whenever Israel turned its back on God, God kept covenant and restored the people. God has not disappointed. God is never disappointed. And so when I think about today's world, why would I expect anything different from God? We are in week 2 of Advent. We are preparing ourselves to tell the story again. The story that God so loved the world. Loved the world. That God sent the Son not to condemn the world, but to save it. The people who walked in darkness have seen a great light, says the prophet. We are preparing for the entry of the Jesus story. Boom! A cosmic story about creation and God's action again. And I honestly could not be more excited. We get to tell it to a world that I believe is longing to hear that God is inbreaking. They're longing to hear that God overturns. Oh, sure, the story of the baby, the wisdom of God in his leadership from an infant, oh, that's part of the story for sure. And what if we imagined that on the day of his birth is the day of his death, is the day of his resurrection? Friends, the Christ event redeems the world, and we are preparing to tell that story in all of its beauty, its justice, its righteousness, its peace. And here's the thing. The Christ event is not a private matter. It's not something that happened in the past. This is not also a private internal event. When we put the Jesus story together, birth, ministry, death, resurrection, we are telling of God's rewriting God's action in the world. And it's no small thing. In Matthew's gospel, there is an earthquake when God dies on the cross. From the Revelation to John, in Christ there is a new creation, a global environmental consequence of the resurrection. This is not just a nice feeling inside. Let's spare God yet another lame metaphor. God is faithful where we are not. Consistently. Again, in Matthew's gospel, when you strike down the shepherd, the sheep scatter, right? And that's exactly what happens. Jesus dies on his own. He's on the cross by himself. And what's that? Against all the things we invest our confidence in, it all collapses. And what happens? God reverses our bad judgment. In the Christ event, we get to see what human life looks like, and we get to see what this God is like. When Jesus was a victim of empire, God reversed our judgment about what is important in the world. So, in the face of all the news we encounter, we may cry out like the Hebrews, "How long will you be angry?" And we realize, wait, this world, this messy, ugly world we create, you want the miracle? It's already happened. Christ came that all might have life and have it abundantly. So, in the face of our lament, we we join the song of the church and of all the saints as we prepare to tell the story again. In Christ, steadfast love and faithfulness meet. Righteousness and peace kiss each other. In Christ, faithfulness springs up from the ground and righteousness looks down from the sky. In Christ, the Lord has given what is good, and our land yields its increase. In Christ, righteousness goes before him and will make a path of peace for his steps. This is the story we are preparing to tell. It's the good news for the world. Remember the line from the song, "What you do while you wait depends on what you're waiting for." Oh, sure, we can lift up Madonna or world crisis. We can do that. Or we can prepare to tell this story by praying together. Let's do that. Let's prepare by prayer. Please pray. Holy God, you have come, and we are preparing to tell the story again. So let us not quench the Spirit with fruitcake and cookies, mistletoe and presents, parties and poinsettias, firelight and pine. Your coming has cosmic consequences, so let us not quench the Spirit with eggnog and memories and tinsel and wrappings and Amal and O. Henry, Nutcracker and Scrooge. May we prepare to tell the story of your coming and not quench your spirit with greeting cards and wassail, reindeer and Bing Crosby, snowfall and sleigh rides and solstice and dark. Let us not also quench your spirit with Advent wreath, manger words, angel song, even with pageants and magi stars, with the running of shepherds and the fearful hopes of all the years, even with caroling in nursing homes and toys given to children who are poor, even with Christmas Eve midlight, candle shine, and prayer. Let us not quench the Spirit. Let us pray. Let us be still.